I'm going to sing Cher Lloyd by Cher Lloyd or Rebecca G. Right? And don't forget all the trouble we got into.
Why does somebody not know how to flush a toilet after they've had a shit?
That's not me.
Well, it was fucking one of yous. Disgusting!
Croeso and welcome to Tales Wales, the pod that never fails to give you up, let you down, run around and desert you, make you cry, say goodbye, tell a lie and hurt you. Oh, isn't that
That's a nice little reference.
Yeah.
Whatever could we be alluding to?
You've just been rickrolled. Welcome to the fucking jungle, baby. Okay, you thought it was only on Instagram and memes. Well, guess what, baby? Sorry.
You thought this pod played by the rules,
No.
but we don't. We fucking spit in the face of the rules. We
You
don't
just
want rickrolling our own bloody audience.
Audiographically rickrolled. That's right up to the doctors, baby. Go straight to the heat.
You guys have been fucking buggered. You guys have been fucked.
Yeah, we haven't got much of an intro this week, so we need to fill. We need to fill with
So
this.
yeah, just how long can we ride this wave?
Yeah. Should we do a classic? What have you been up to, mate? I saw you all weekend.
What have I been up to? Oh, just be with you, mate, on the weekend. We were actually at a wedding this weekend, weren't we? Let's tell the
hell
dear
of a
listeners
wedding.
all about it.
Yeah, it was a cracking wedding. Congrats to our friend Dan and Verity. Beautiful couple.
Diane.
Absolutely beautiful couple. they are.
Beautiful couple. You would know how fantastic it was.
Oh, just two souls become one. It's beautiful, it is. It was a good laugh, though.
It was good, yeah. Being in the presence of true love.
Yeah.
And also
And a lot of good
drinking a
food.
lot of good food, a lot of good booze.
Yeah.
Nothing to complain about, really.
Yeah. And then some highlights for me were I ate 3 monstrously big donuts when I was absolutely smashed. And I saw a photo of myself. My dicky bow was untethered. My suit jacket long gone. Half my creased tee, what's that? Half my shirt untucked. And I was just there scoffing. Do you have anything
mate,
to say to the bride and groom? Oh, delicious donuts.
Donuts made it onto my little highlight thing in my video as well. I was fucking banging on about the donuts. They were banging.
They were
just
good.
to think about the tie, I came back to the room way later than Amy, right? And she said she was awoken by me absolutely fussing with my my dicky bow. I could not get the very simple mechanism. It's just one clasp, like sort of thing. I just could not get it off. I was going,
Well,
I just could not fucking wrestle it off my neck.
I'm the opposite. I couldn't get mine on. It kept fucking flipping off. And it would droop down like a little sorry little dinkle, like a little Wilbert, going, "Ooh, hello, I'm not up for the chat."
This never happens to me. This never happens.
Another highlight for me was the bar closed crazily early, like 10:30 maybe. So they were like, to get you a few orders in now. So we
Which we were
stockpiled.
undeterred.
Yeah, so we stockpiled. I bought 3 rum and cokes, and we had been on the booze all day. And you bought a bottle of wine, which you fucking guarded with your life, like it was your newborn baby. When we all drank
Like the
ours,
fucking fucking sphinx there. Just fucking, no one gets past me.
we were sniffing around. When we finished our drinks, like, Mum, off a big bottle of wine you got there, catchy. Any chance of a...
Well, see, I wasn't having your, what's the word? Ill-preparedness be rewarded by... I got a bottle of wine because I knew I wanted lots of booze.
Yeah.
You got your 3 rums and you bloody guzzled them. You gluttonous
Greedy
pig.
boy, aren't I? Greedy little boy.
And then your fucking little snout was sniffing closer and closer towards my lovely chilled wine, and I was like,
What's that?
"Fucking
Pinot
back off!
Grigio, is it?"
Stop looking for fucking truffles." Oh, what's that then?
Echo Falls is your drive. Let's have a little sniff at that then.
Do you remember towards the end of that as well, where it was like the last up? After like most people gone to bed, you're like, "Oh, go on, should we just grab something from the bar?" Because the bar had been left unprotected.
Yeah.
And yeah, you were going, "Go on, do it." And I was going, "Oh, should we?" And we kept going back and forth, going, "Yeah, well, why don't you do it?" No, you.
It was like Mission Impossible style, because they were staff still walking around, and I already asked every member of the staff, "Please, can we get one more drink?" And they were like, "Oh, we can't, sorry, we can't." And I was like, "Well, what happens if I drop a £50 note here and I just reach over and I don't say anything, you don't say anything, we're ships in the night. I don't have 50 quid on me. I didn't have a note at all to give, so I just give these false promises."
Couldn't even back your bribe up.
No, but we did try and bribe every single member of staff I saw. And then I was like, fuck it, they're not here. We'll just go take it. And we're like, there's no cameras. There's a camera right there. It's like, oh, fuck, yeah. But then we're like, what are they going to do?
Exactly where the alcohol's fucking left
we said,
as well.
what are they going to do?
Seeing our little grubby mitts in there.
Charge us. That's the whole point. We wanted them to charge us. We wanted to pay full price, but they wouldn't let us. But then I remember because we were up there till about 1:30, and then my partner was like, please don't fucking steal. And I was like, all right. And in a real weird act of out of characteristicness, or very out of character for me, my partner's like, can you just come to bed now? I was like, yeah, all right then. And usually I'm like, no, I want to keep the party going for as long as I can. But I was like, yeah, do you know what? I've had my 3 donuts. And also, I told the groom, because there was like a barbecue there, and I was like, I couldn't trouble you for a little burger, could I? And he was like, mate, it's like 1 a.m. It's like long gone. I was like, oh, okay. And then about 10 minutes later, he was cleaning out there, and he came back with a burger in a burger box. They made like takeaways. The caterers made these like takeaway things in these stunning little boxes.
I completely missed the fucking Barbie bit.
You were next to me. You were next to me when Dan gave it to me, and I put it under my chair so none of you other vultures could see it. And it's in this little takeaway box. And I went up to my room, and I was like, but I passed out so quickly, just left it like one little nibble in there. And then when I woke up, my partner was so poorly. She was just like throwing up all morning.
Oh yeah, we saw you both the next day, didn't we? On sort of everyone making their way slowly to their cars. Yeah, everyone was just like, how you feeling? And it was just, we were pretty rough. And then me and Amy had a bloody flat tyre, and I was like, I just want to get home. I just want to get home and like just curl up. And it was like, oh no, now you gotta wait and fucking try and change the tyre, and then let's go to fucking Quick Fit and Ponte bloody Prive.
Yeah, like I said, you should have just set fire to the car. Called in shame.
We got third-party fire and theft, don't we? We're fine.
Yeah, just fucking petrol bomb it and be done. Because
one thing I didn't tell you about as well was when we stayed up, because you went to bed, and then me and Andy started our bottles of wine to finish, and there was a couple of I think the bridesmaids were up there. Oh yeah, and one of them, I don't know how she was so learned in her history as we are, but she mentioned something. I can't remember how we got onto this, but she said that the Celts were like the most useless part of British history. What? And you can just imagine the sort of the reaction that was given from me after fucking half a bottle of wine on top of everything I've been drinking all day. I was like, I flat out disagree with you. I was like, do you have any idea what Caradog? Yes, shall I tell about the Silurians? Right, put these headphones in. Listen to this podcast episode now.
Well, I'm glad I missed that. I
fought the good fight,
Diane.
Yeah. Oh, also, in another thing where the podcast came up was the groom's mother was calling me and you celebs.
She got given a shout out, didn't she? She had
absolute shout out. In the room. I didn't know what the fuck she was on about. I was like, celebs.
I got a shout out.
And then, it was me and you.
She gave me 3 separate shout outs during that speech. And our mate Josh got 0. And then, so she gave out, she went, Frank's, Dan, since he was like the oldest friend he had. And then he mentioned the podcast thing. And then they said, going on family trips, Clay used to go on family trips with him. And then she went, and there's new friends here who I've not really met before, like Craig and Andy. And I just looked at Josh, who's a bit of a needy baby at the best of times. He was just like, what?
There was so many overlapping Venn diagrams that Josh could have fit into as well. Sorry, Shoshy, but
sorry, Josh,
he didn't. He was just sat there. Yeah, we do. But it was, I did look over and poor Josh, he didn't get one shout out. He's been there since forever.
Yeah, and everyone else got name checked as well. It almost felt like a slight dig at the end. And I'd also like to thank Josh's brother, Josh's wife.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what was her beef with the Celts then?
I can't really remember, mate. I was a little bit piddled by that point. I can't remember how we got onto it, but she was saying about how like they were just useless, like they didn't really contribute anything, and it was like, they didn't write a lot of things down, and also, what didn't they call? They didn't contribute anything. The Welsh are only here today because of them. You fucking anti-Celtic racist is what I don't think I called the racist, but I remember saying I just flagrantly disagree with you. I was fueled by wine at that point.
Well, we're not fueled by wine today. Another segue. because we are doing a lunchtime record, so I kind of got to get a move on because I'm doing this during my lunch break. So
stop talking about fun things.
Bands.
We're moving on now.
Fucking hurry up. Do we want to plug our little money thing or whatever? I'm always really bad at saying this bit, but to keep the pod going.
Yeah, I don't like doing it, but gotta keep doing it.
Yeah, if you'd like to contribute to the pod, because we pay to get these up on the internet and stuff like that. If you'd like to contribute anything, we will put the money back into the pod in terms of advertising and paying the upkeep, really. And there's a link in the bio of this episode if you'd like to spend some shekels our way, my lord, my little liege.
I like how you've gotten rid of when we used to ask for this, you were like, oh yeah, and we'll buy a couple of cans with your hard-earned cash, and now like that's been dropped from the plea.
Well, we haven't.
We're honest, honestly.
We haven't bought any.
We haven't touched the bloody money, all right? We haven't touched the bloody money yet.
All right. So that's our little plea for your shekels. And somewhere where they might use shekels is an old tiny village called St. Fagans. Nice. And that leads us on
Slick
to
little manoeuvre.
today's episode, the Battle of St. Fagans. Which
yesterday.
Sorry,
the battle. What was that about?
The old Battle of St. Fagans, my lord. Cornish bastards, a lot of you. I don't know what it is. It's St. Fagans. Oh, actually... we haven't done a review, and this isn't a review as such, but someone messaged us on Insta, and I got to read it out because it did make me chuckle, where this boy called Lewis, I'll just give his first name in case he doesn't want to be shouted out his second name, but Lewis messaged saying, boys, it's not even 7 and I'm deep in the cans, walking home now, back from the fams, got the pod in my lug holes and you got me cheesing, so much so that it looks like I'm scheming. Every time a person passes by, I gotta suppress the smile and avert my eyes because it looks like I'm laughing at them and not the pod. But anyways, cheers for work, salute and a nod. Then another message. You thought I was done? Wrong! I've got plenty more. I'm not done with drinking, so I'm off to the store. Having too much fun made me slosh. This bloody pot's... Hang on. Having too much fun, need me more slosh. This bloody pod's better than a good nosh. Don't know about that. It's a 5 stars from me. You boys give me joys. Let me have a cheer from the crowd. I shout, but I'm walking home on my own, and I'm the only noise. So, absolute
Lewis,
maniac.
thank you, mate. Thank you for that. Very in keeping with the values of this pod, as
Very
Wales
much.
is the land of song and poetry. So he's like a modern day Taliesin, that boy, isn't he?
He is. So, diolch, Lewis. Thanks, you maniac.
Diolch, Lewis. Thank you, mate.
Over to
But
you.
yeah,
my
back to what are we doing? Ballasts and Fagans. Let me get my notes up because I'm stupidly ill prepared. Here we go. Right, just cut all that and go from here.
I'm not.
So yeah, we're talking about. Fair enough. So we just wear our hearts on our sleeves here, don't we? Don't mind. Right. Anyway, so yeah, talking about ballasts and faggots today. We're going to waffle on about it. We're going to waffle on about a fight between around 8,000 royalists and just shy of 2,000 parliamentarians way back in May 1648. To give a short version of why these battles were fought, it was basically two sides. There was the royalists, who were loyal to the monarch at the time. That was Charles I. The royalists believed that the king or queen or monarch was above both government and the church in terms of authority. The parliamentarian forces thought that Britain should be ruled by the government and that no monarch should have power over religion. So that's the whole reason that the first English Civil War started. So the first English Civil War then ended when Charles I was captured by the parliamentarian forces. He was sent to Scotland in custody, and on both sides of the Civil War, they assumed that Charles I would continue to rule as king, but he'd have to make concessions to the parliamentarian forces to allow him back on the throne. So Charles I.
So they weren't going to kill him. They were like, hey,
no, they said you can carry on being king,
That's
but look,
mad.
we want our demands sort of met. Yeah, you think? I think it was because that way they were both happy, because the royalists would have been like up in arms if they'd actually killed the monarch.
Okay.
So they were trying to sort of appease both sides. But Charles I wouldn't play ball, and as time went on, there was a growing divide between Christians in Scotland and the remaining parliamentarian forces. And this divide eventually led to Charles being released in Scotland, who had now joined, and the Scottish Christians, had now joined King Charles's side, so they were royalists.
Yeah.
After this. This then led to the Second English Civil War, with the newly revitalised royalists and King Charles versus what was remaining the parliamentarian forces. Does that make more sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, cool. So, shortly after the Second English Civil War had begun, revolts broke out all over the country, with many key players switching sides, especially from parliamentarians to royalists, because the royalists seemed to have the bigger forces. So a lot of like yellow bellies, basically,
Yeah.
who thought they couldn't win and didn't stick by their principles, just flipped to the opposite side. 3 such examples of these people who flipped were Colonel Poyer, Sir Nicholas Kempoys, and Colonel Powell. And they governed Pembroke Castle, Chepstow Castle, and Tenby Castle, respectively. So these were guys who flipped from being parliamentarian to royalist. In response to this, a parliamentarian leader in South Wales, a Major General Lahan, decided he'd be a little turncoat as well, and he decided that he'd take command of these new rebel forces that were amassing in South Wales. So he was a parliamentarian, just to clarify. He switched to become a royalist, and he took command of the royalist rebels that were in Wales now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Got you. So, faced with a new royalist force in Wales, a parliamentarian leader called Sir Thomas Fairfax dispatched 2,000 experienced and well-disciplined troops and cavalry, with Colonel Thomas Horton leading the charge. By this point, Lahan's rebel army, so the royalists, they consisted around 500 cavalry and 7,500 infantry. So although they had much bigger numbers, these were predominantly made up of what were called clubmen, volunteer clubmen. They're basically militia, and they have clubs. You could probably have guessed that. But some of them had billy hooks. Do you know what a billy hook is?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just quickly Google
It's kind of like a long knife that's like makes a hook at the end. You probably know it to see it. But yeah, they look quite nasty. If you had one of them sort of flung at your face, you wouldn't be happy.
They're what I imagine when I think of this kind of era. Because you often see the men like standing up with those. They're like long spears with a little hook at the end, don't they?
No, these are like handheld things.
Oh,
so like
okay,
knives,
the
but with hook
ones.
things. But yeah, similar shape. But yeah, that's I don't know what they're actually used for. Probably like butchering or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, a bill hook
Anyway.
is the long one, a billy hook is the short one.
There you go. Yeah, they've nicely and confusingly just named them very similar things as well. But yeah, so the research I did for this, they say that this was the largest battle to ever happen in Wales. But I'm absolutely sure that we talked about bigger forces than this, especially in like Celtic Roman times. Maybe it's just because they can't accurately say the Celtic Roman stuff because maybe it wasn't written down. Probably that, no. Yeah. But yeah, it's a fairly big fight. So it's about 8,000 royalists versus 2,000 parliamentarians. So anyway, Lahan's royalist army began to march towards Cardiff, but Horton and his parliamentarian men managed to get there first, and they ended up making camp in St Fagans. That's just west of the city, where he was awaiting reinforcements from the Lieutenant General at the time of the parliamentarians, Oliver Cromwell. So, for those who are not familiar with the geography, St Fagans is, well, today it's like a historic thing, isn't it? It's like a big
outdoor. It's like Europe's largest outdoor museum.
Yeah, and it's got like loads of reconstructed houses from different ages in Wales and stuff.
Yeah,
anyone
like
who went to school like in South Wales has been there because it's like a constant school trip thing.
It's a history of Wales told through outdoors, through lots of buildings and sites and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's worth
it's cool.
It's worth a visit, I'd say. But yeah, that's just west of city of Cardiff today, and obviously a bit more sort of fields and hilly and stuff back then in the 1600s. Anyway, so Major General Lahan. By the way, if these names confuse you, just ask me and I'll tell you who they are. So Major General Lahan was desperate to disperse Horton's forces before his allies arrived, and so on May 8th, 1648, he staged a surprise attack. Around 7 a.m. that morning, Lahan sent 500 of his infantry to attack the parliamentarian outposts, but they were soundly beaten back by the much more experienced parliamentarians. So it's worth mentioning these parliamentarian troops, they were like vets of the first English Civil War.
Yeah.
So they knew what they were doing, basically, and the forces that Lahan had, his royalists, they were like I said, they were like militia, essentially. They were very undisciplined, untrained. The royalist rebels thought of the phrase, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and in true Welsh tradition, began adopting guerrilla tactics against their enemy. Attacking from behind hedges and ditches with parliamentarian cavalry was less effective. Worth bearing in mind that although they had guns back in 1648, they were like the old flintlock pistol.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the old ones that if you fire once, you've got to take forever to fucking load again. So they had those and musket rifles and things, but you'd only get one shot off, really, before you'd have to switch to melee weapons of some kind. So these guerrilla tactics, unlike the Welsh armies of the Middle Ages, were actually quite ineffective against such hardened soldiers, and the royalist forces began to panic as they were eventually pushed back. In a last-ditch attempt to rally his men, Lahan mounted his horse and led a cavalry charge himself, and a bloody battle ensued. Despite the overwhelming number advantage, Lahan and his men were defeated in just 2 hours by Houghton's hard knocks, with 300 royalist troops killed at the battle and over 3,000 being taken prisoner. The rest fled to Pembroke Castle along with Lahan. Lahan absolutely flip-flopping between being a warrior, leading his boys, and being an absolute yellow belly and legging it at the end. Like, that's madness. Like, come on, lads, we can do this. And then he went, oh dear, I'm seeing where this is going. I'm fucking off. And also, I was saying, how the fuck did you keep 3,000 prisoners when your own army is like 1,000 men less than that? Like, how can you possibly just go, oh, promise me you'll sit there now and not try and do a runner? Yeah, promise, my lord. See you later. That's mad.
I went to the battle. I went to St. Fagans. They did a recreation of it. They had like I was probably like 10 or something like that, and they had it on a hill where it was meant to happen, and you all stood ages away. But there was like, I saw there was like cannons and stuff and other weapons in there. I see there's something called the dragoons.
Dragoons. I've heard dragoons before.
So
aren't they a type of unit?
Yeah, they're like horses, cavalry horses, but also had their firearms on them. Their guns, so they could they could fire, run back, and reload, and then fire again. So they're a bit more effective than those just holding it on their hand.
Gotcha.
So one of the last little bits I read, just to add to that, like where you mentioned that when old Larney effed off, I read that behind them they left like a couple of, you said around 300, but I read it's around, estimated between 300 to 700 dead soldiers were left, and 3,000 men taken hostage. And then the rebellious Larn, he was in this 8-week siege at Pembrokeshire Castle, and him and his other two cronies, Poyer and Rice, were taken to London for a court-martial. They were all initially condemned to death, but it was decided only one of them would be executed, and they had to draw a straw to decide who was going to be killed. And then they were like, oh, fuck that, I ain't doing this for a bag of ponies. So they refused to draw lots together. So the job of pulling out the name of the hat was given to a child. So this harbinger
needlessly
of death.
Traumatizing.
Yeah, little child. It shall be you who dies, Poyer.
Yeah.
And so then
the angel of death has spoken.
It's weird though. So, like, they decided then to shoot him in front of a large crowd in Covent Garden, which seems like I'd imagine it'd be hanging or execution, but just shooting him, just going up, pow, 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 and then going.
Back in bloody 1649, what else is there to watch on telly, isn't there? You know, you just might as well go down to the local garden, see someone get his head blown out.
And then, like you said, so St. Fagans is one of the largest battles in the bloody conflict between the Roundheads and the Cavaliers. I hate those terms, like fucking nerds.
Roundheads, fucking square boffins, more like, right?
Yeah. So we don't know enough about this, but then so King Charles executed, and then England and Wales, they became a republic under Oliver Cromwell. But then that must have swung back a bit because it's no longer a republic, is it? It's back having a monarchy. But that's for us to learn on another episode of Tales for Wales.
Yeah.
We don't know
once we're read
that.
up, we'll actually talk about it.
Yeah. Maybe we could figure that out another day.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that was basically the beginning of the end then. So the Second English Civil War ended later that year in August at the Battle of Preston, when Royalist forces were defeated there as well. So this would lead to the execution of King Charles in January.
They were like, fool me once, shame on me.
Exactly.
Fool me
Fuck
twice.
me around once.
Yeah, I'll chop your head off.
Bad on you. Second time, I'll fucking kill you. That's my bastardization of the saying. Yeah. So they chopped his head off. in January 1649. He was beheaded in front of a crowd at the Palace of is it Whitehall or Whitehall? Whitehall, probably, isn't it? I just probably noted that down wrong. Yeah. And yeah, he was the first British monarch ever to be executed. But yeah, that was the end of the what are they called? The Wars of the British Isles, Wars of the Three Kingdoms / the British Civil Wars. But yeah, that was the Battle of St Fagans. Supposedly the biggest battle to happen in Wales, but I don't know.
So from the bits that I read, because like you mentioned, it's around 2,000, but it could have been more. They think St Fagans, they had like around 11,000 people, and they just. The Wales Online did an article about it where they described it as brutal hand-to-hand combat where hundreds of men were killed, and legend has it the River Ely ran red with their blood. And like you mentioned, many of those who fought and died had been on the same side just months earlier, so they just flipped around a lot. Did they... so after this, that's why we have Parliament more in power. That's why the royal families don't intervene with politics, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not as quite as clean cut as that, but yeah, it's sort of the beginning and the end of the monarchy having like absolute power over everything. Because
and
the
that would have been from the
won.
time of the Normans, wouldn't it? When the monarchy was the most important thing.
Yeah, probably even. Yeah, I'd imagine so. Before that, it was smaller kingdoms, but even then, your sort of king had.
Yeah, but there was like commonplace land, wasn't there, before the Normans and things like that. But after that, the king was the most important person in all the land. When the Normans
from what just after 1066 with the Norman invasion. Yeah. I'd wager that was right, mate.
So that's like, what is that, 400 years? No, 600 years of the royals being the most important, and then that's slowly going further down. I also was going to say, so they said it's the largest battle, but Battle of Creagmawr, which is also about the Normans, is when the Welsh fought against the Normans. We covered that on his own episode, and we cover it when we mention Gwen Llan's story. That had like roughly the same, or maybe a little bit more, because they think around like 6,000 of the Welsh, and then an equal number of the roughly equal number of the Normans. So that
I was sure see that we've talked about bigger battles than that at least once or twice.
Well,
but I don't know if is it because things weren't quite as accurately noted down then. You can go, there's like sort of room for error.
And when we did the Boudicca episode, she didn't fight in Wales, so those numbers were bigger.
Yeah, that's true, because that was up in essentially north east England, wasn't it?
Yeah, and London,
well,
all that
modern
place.
Day.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a shorty, isn't it?
It is a short one, this. Yeah,
I thought it was going to be a lot more detailed.
Pad it out with wedding talk.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot more like a those battles back then seem a lot less frantic and more organised, where it's like stand in and they shoot and they march. But it seems
I was expecting it to be like almost like what you see with like Napoleonic stuff, where they just march forward even though they're getting fucking nailed by rifles. But no, apparently not. Yeah. It was a fairly short and sweet battle. But yeah, 300 royalists dead. 3,000 captured again. Still don't get how they managed to do that, but that's what they say.
Imagine being in that army though, where you have you see like 2,000 to 3,000 of the enemy, and there's like 8,000 of you. You're like, we fucking got this, easy lads. And then you go, oh fuck! You just start getting picked off.
You would be thinking, I'd be leaving that battle going, well done, Jack, you fucking lost it for everyone.
I'd be thinking though, like the tactic would just be, well, there's fucking like 4 times as many of you. Just throw all of them at them at once, and that surely should overwhelm them.
Yeah, I think that a lot with like these battles that are heavily, one side's got way more numbers than the other. But I think it's if you were running at these quite experienced guys and they're like mowing you down and cleaving like 3 of you for every one of them, you might go, I don't really want to chuck myself in the fucking meat grinder. I might just leg it,
Yeah.
Especially with my little billy hook.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Slightly underwhelming battle, isn't it?
It's just not as much of like there's a turning point, and like in a lot of good battles, there's almost like a 3-act structure, isn't it? Where it's like, it goes bad, then it goes a bit good, and then it goes bad again, or whatever. There's like a bit of up and down. But this one is like, the parliamentarians just had it basically in the bag.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to change a bit when it said the royalists started using guerrilla tactics. I was like, the classic trump card in Wales. And then that didn't even work. So
Yeah. So Cromwell had that thing called the New Model Army, didn't he?
Oh, this is getting out of my territory of knowledge now, mate. I
right.
didn't look too much into Cromwell because I clicked on the Cromwell thing and that came up with pages and pages and pages, and I was like, ain't nobody got time for that.
So, like, Cromwell had this idea that you'd actually create a proper army. So, unlike militias of old, where you just, like, call them up thingies, you'd have actual fighting men, all year round. And it was, like, 22... just a quick read was, like, it's around, like, 22,000 soldiers, loads of regiments of cavalry, regiments of infantry, those dragoons I mentioned where they're on horseback and stuff. But like he kind of made a proper army, well, rather than just having you call to arms and stuff like that. So he made it very professional. So maybe that came into it as well. You're not just fighting maniacs from Pembrokeshire.
Yeah. He also, on a quick Google, was the first person to coin the phrase "warts and all."
Warts and all,
Ollie. Yeah, Oliver Cromwell. That was his battle cry. Just go, "Warts and all, lads," and then run into battle.
I don't think I don't really like this era as much. So, like, I love medieval, I love the Middle Ages,
Same.
and I don't really like this. And also they call it the English Civil War on Welsh soil. It's like, fuck you, cunt.
Yeah. I took chagrin with that as well when I was reading about it. Yeah, it's I know what you mean. It's not as exciting. It's not as not as romantic, is it? Like, certainly not as romanticized in my head. It's like all these guys in little fucking Guy Fawkes hats and shit like that, and
they're
little
fighting
pointy
for two
beards
sides I don't care about.
Pistols.
They're fighting for
exactly.
I don't care about
another thing.
fucking royal family. I don't care about an English parliament. So it's like there's no kind of like, it's not like you said. Romantic's a good word for it. We romanticize that England do this great hero who's probably only with lots of it vested interests. But when we think about him, it's like he's fighting for a unique, independent, self-reliant Wales, and that's a really romantic image. Whereas some fucking ponces in stupid hats and.
Yeah, and these guys are just deep down a bunch of bloody boffins, aren't you? They're just arguing about who gets to fucking write laws and stuff like that, and it's a little bit more about who's in control, whereas like you think about Llywelyn and Gwenllian and all that sort of stuff. It's about like fighting oppression against your people's oppression and being stamped on by a big bully kind of thing. There's a little bit more of an, I don't know, feels like a nobility to it, as opposed to this is just like a fucking fight over who gets to keep all the coin purses, isn't it? Yeah,
the fucking nerds. Anyway, I'm glad we did it because it's been on the list for ages, and I didn't know much about it. So I always do like when we learn things because we like learning. So that's Is there anything else you want to add to it, or we done for this ep?
That's everything I got, mate. I did try and pad it out with some flourishes, but
it's padded. It's a padded seat. It's beautiful. In that case, shall we wrap up and say diolch am gwrando? Can you drop us some reviews and share it with your mates and donate if you can? But if not, we'll carry on listening. Diolch am gwrando.
Cheers, lads. Cheers. Ta-da.
You don't care anymore, do you? Get straight to the fucking answer.
No, I'm not cutting no bullshit. I'm telling you how it is.
Fucking answer.
Okay? All right?
Okay.
All right, good. Your menu is not better than mine. You know?
You're a donkey.
My food been voted best chef in Vertraconi.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Don't push the finger.
Put your fucking hands up here. Listen to me. You run a shithole of a kitchen. Fuck yourself.
No.
Okay?
No.
Fuck off. Who the fuck are you to turn around and tell me when you work like a pig? You French pig!
Yeah, you know what?
You lazy pig.
Yeah, big
You're
word.
so full of shit. Open your eyes
Big
and
mouth.
look round.
Big mouth. You're not happy?
I'm fucking happy.
You can get out.
Go on.
You can get out.
Fuck yourself.
You can get out. It's my fucking kitchen.
Yeah, is it? Well, it's your fucking kitchen and clean it, you lazy cunt.
No.